Thank you. Check.
Tracy. Tracy, can you unmute and say something?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Great. All right. And Tracy, you can hear us okay, I assume?
I certainly can.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here virtually. Okay, with that, I will call to order this regular meeting of the Washington Township School Board. It is Wednesday, January 28th at 6:04 p.m. And we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And our first agenda item for tonight is our school spotlight. Let's welcome Crooked Creek.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keena Parquette, the proud principal at Crooked Creek Elementary School. Thanks for coming out this evening. This is my first time out since Saturday. All right, we'll get started. I'm excited to share some information about Crooked Creek. Some celebrations from our staff. We have Stephanie Hayden, our third grade teacher, who published an article with Discovery Education. She also did a lesson with them virtually, so the students got to experience that with Discovery Ed, which was very interesting. And then Mitch Mosby, first grade teacher, is our Donors Choose and Seesaw ambassador. He gets many projects funded through Donors Choose, which is cool. And then we had the opportunity to send 3 staff members to Get Your Teach On conference in Vegas in January. And then we also have quarterly attendance recognition for staff with perfect attendance. For students this year, we started a new recognition called Green Carpet Awards. It recognizes students who exemplify the designated month value. Friday, hopefully, we are doing one for being a giver, which also goes with our house, Altruismo. So we're excited about that. We have house heroes for students that exemplify above and beyond actions. They get to select a book from our book vending machine. And then for Checkpoint 1, for iLearn, we had celebrations for students that performed at or above proficiency. So they had a little extra recess and treats. For our school community, we're excited because we had the highest attendance for the district for the first semester. So social worker and the office ladies work really hard to make those calls in the morning to make sure we have all students accounted for and to remind parents if they forget that we have school to bring their kids to school. So it's great. Something new that the counselors started was Pause in Pages. We have 16 volunteers from the community that will be coming in to support students with their reading fluency goals. So that's exciting. We've had a few already. We're in a partnership with the Dyslexia Institute. They service students in first grade and second grade to help build their foundations in phonics and phonemic awareness. And then we had a partnership with Peace Learning Community. So we had students that met with them to get training to help each other deal with some of the SEL stuff that's going on. So those are some of our celebrations. Based on our M-Class data, we had strong kindergarten and first grade gains, which is exciting because we changed some things, programming for those 2 grade levels. We're excited in kindergarten because we implemented Hegarty and Foundations, and they've gotten great gains with that. And then in first grade, we implemented Foundations. So we had a big movement into the at and above for kindergarten and first grade. And then fourth grade, they had a large increase in the above benchmark category, which was exciting. We saw growth in all students from beginning of the year to middle of the year. So now we're just working on making tweaks for tier 2, tier 3, and continuing our focus on tier 1 instruction. And then based on the DOE reports, Crooked Creek is nearing the expected performance level for federal accountability results. Things that we're working on, we're focusing on the below level for M-Class, making sure we're strengthening our tier 2, tier 3 supports, focusing on fluency, comprehension application, and progress monitoring for targeted groups for interventions, and making sure the interventions are done with fidelity. And we are now having teachers, since they are highly qualified, to do the tier 2 interventions and not instruction assistants always. Some promising practices. We have done walkthroughs. We try to do 2 or 3 walkthroughs as an instructional leadership team daily to get in the classrooms and see what's happening, and using that data to provide necessary support for teachers, grade levels, or for the whole school. Looking at what we're noticing through the walkthroughs to see if a certain teacher is struggling with something in support. We have Stephanie Hodge, who's supporting a couple of second grade teachers with co-teaching, and then providing professional development if it's just by grade level during a PLC or coach-led planning to help.
I just texted him.
Help support our faculty and staff and our students. She's putting together the parties that the kids have. She puts together donations for the food pantry and supplies for the teachers. So we're really thankful for her and her contributions. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Nope. I can't get away that fast. Lastly, we have a supportive partnership with Brooks Place. They have supported our social worker and counselor with providing services for our students that have had loss in their lives. So we would like to honor Montana, who came to receive the recognition. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then we are always fortunate to have support from the Washington Township Foundation. We've had lots of support with teachers' treasures. We've secured $10,938 in school supplies for Crooked Creek, which is awesome. We've had 2 Crooked Creek teachers that have been adopted for the Adopt a Classroom. And then 12 staff members took advantage of the dollar for dollar donors choose, and I'm sure Mitch Mosby is the main one. And then last year, Crooked Creek received grant support totaling $2,894, and right now we've already received $1,527. And I wrote a grant, so I'm hoping to get that one funded soon. So that is just a little bit about Crooked Creek on the west side of the district. Everyone's welcome to join us anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Marquette. We appreciate it. Are we good on technology? Okay. We had a little hiccup, but I think we're good now. Okay, moving on. Next agenda item is our superintendent's announcements. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, President Fry. Good evening, community. And I want to start by congratulating, I don't think we've done this publicly, but our Indiana Hoosier National Championship football program. We got to do that. Got a big win last night too. Sorry, you Boiler fans out there, but it was a big win.
Your tie's the wrong color.
I know, I thought about that, but my IU tie is so outdated. I need to update. Have a couple of announcements this evening. First of all, I wanted to invite the board and any prospective families to visit our middle school open houses. That's coming up this Sunday, February 1st from 1 to 4. And that's for any prospective family or elementary family transitioning to middle schools to come check it out and learn more about our 3 fabulous middle schools. And we are going to be preparing our 8th graders for next year. As you know, we had curriculum night scheduled this week for Monday night. We rescheduled that for next Monday night for our incoming freshmen. That's February 2nd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. We talked today that curriculum night is much more than just learning about curriculum. So invite the board and the community, especially if you're a parent of a current 8th grade student, to come and learn more about North Central and all the fabulous offerings they provide over there at what we call the Big House. I also linked there some dates and events because it doesn't stop there for the 8th to 9th transition year. We've got several different events planned there for families and students. And so that link there just kind of gives our families an education on what that transition work looks like starting now into next school year. February 2nd is count date. I also attached a report of how currently we're shaping up this second semester. We typically, as you know, are down from fall to spring every year, but this year it also looks like we're down a little bit spring to spring. I'll provide you the actual February 2nd count date a little bit later on, but wanted to give you a heads up on enrollment. We're still cleaning up some of that data and will be until we finalize that through the data exchange. And then as usual, I wanted to communicate a kudos that was shared with some of us recently on behalf of Spring Mill leadership, shouting out Shomi Makapade, our grant specialist who does fabulous work helping schools navigate and utilize their grants to optimize resources and supports for our students. So take a look at that nice email when you receive a chance. And then finally, it's been kind of a tough week. I don't know if you've heard, but I don't care whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, an educator, superintendent, a board member. It's been a challenging week with inclement weather, and I just want to take this time to publicly thank everyone for doing everything they can to the best of their ability to support teaching and learning during this tough inclement weather season. We will get through it eventually. I have prepared a little statement that I wanted to send out this evening after reading it here at the board meeting, just to kind of give some additional context to inclement weather decision-making in the community. As I know, we're all in the state of Indiana navigating these difficult times with the recent near foot of snow we got this past Sunday. So it says, "Good evening, Panther Nation. Since Sunday, winter has certainly kept us on our toes. I want to sincerely thank our students, families, and staff for making the most of our e-learning days. While not ideal, your flexibility and commitment to teaching and learning truly shows. I'm especially grateful to our operations, transportation, and maintenance team who have worked tirelessly to get our campuses ready to safely welcome students back as conditions will allow. As we've communicated already this evening, we do anticipate returning students tomorrow on a 2-hour delay. To our families, thank you for your patience and partnership as we navigated operational decisions during what has been a challenging week of inclement weather. Your trust matters, your partnership matters, and we take that responsibility seriously. We know that serving students where they learn best in school is important, and at the same time, we will always continue to prioritize safety by ensuring that students and staff can arrive to and from school safely. We strive to communicate effectively and swiftly, knowing that good communication is important to students and families. Our goal is always to communicate decisions with as much advance notice as possible, but weather is unpredictable here in Indiana and often requires decision-making the day of operation. Today was a perfect example. All of the metropolitan school districts in Marion County communicated a 2-hour delay last night based on improved road conditions, but then changed to e-learning this morning when there was more information available and the wind chill was predicted to remain dangerously low throughout the morning commute, even on a delay. We recognize last-minute changes are a challenge to all families, but these last-minute changes allow us to make a decision with the most accurate and up-to-date information about weather conditions. Please have your students bundle up, hats, gloves, coats, scarves, as it looks to be a long, cold winter. We will continue to communicate as clearly and as efficiently as possible as we quite literally shovel our way out of winter. As communicated earlier, we will operate on a 2-hour delay tomorrow. Temperature predictions do look like they will safely remain above our closing thresholds. As always, we appreciate your flexibility if, again, we have to pivot. Thank you for your continued support and partnership, and I look forward to seeing our students in schools tomorrow. So that will go out this evening, but I wanted to take this opportunity to read that publicly given the board meeting tonight. Thanks, board.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. On that note, it is freezing in here.
It is cold.
I don't know if there's anybody who knows how to control the temperature in here. If there is, great, but whew, the cold temperatures are joining us right here in the room. Next item on the agenda is our comments from the public. We did not have anyone sign in to speak tonight. However, if there is anyone who wanted to address the board for public comment, I would invite you to make your way to the podium at this time. Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. And thank you, Crooked Creek folks, for coming out to support tonight. We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Kaiser.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Taylor, President Fry, members of the board. By the way, I stopped by the thermostat on my way up, so we're making an attempt. I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes of the January 14th, 2026 reorganization and regular meeting, approval of one payroll calculation summary report, a claims docket in the amount of $4,564,975.99, a special personnel item in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2, a human resources report containing for classified personnel 7 new hires, numbers 212 to 218, 2 resignations, numbers 100 and 101, and 1 termination, number 20. For certified personnel, 2 new appointments, numbers 112 and 113, 2 resignations, numbers 29 and 30, 1 transfer, number 18, and 1 maternity, child rearing, or adoptive leave, number 13. There is also a technical corrections memo to board policies A125 and A100. And just as a reminder for the public, technical corrections are approved via the consent agenda when we're making changes to a policy like renumbering sections, correcting additions for grammar or typographical errors, or changes in names of personnel that don't alter the substance of the policy in any way. There is one non-competitive grant, gift, or donation to present for board approval, a donation to JEL's Culinary Arts Program, and the information has been provided in your board's packet for review.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions or discussion in regards to the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
To approve the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll go ahead and call for the vote. As a note, we do need to do roll call vote due to our virtual attendance today. So Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Mrs. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is also an aye. Ayes have it 5-0. Thank you very much, Dr. Kaiser. We will move on to the rest of our action items tonight. The first one, Ms. Burton Smith, the Clearwater drainage easement.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Taylor, and board members. I am here tonight requesting approval of a resolution granting approval of an easement to the city of Indianapolis. The easement is located on the property of Clearwater Elementary School. The City of Indianapolis Department of Public Works, DPW, is undertaking a project to maintain the levee wall and routine maintenance of the easement area of Hallen Ditch. Currently, the existing easement does not provide the required 15-foot of area to meet the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers requirements necessary to maintain the levee accreditation and corresponding flood protection. Currently, there is no planned work in the additional area of the easement requested. The only work planned currently is with the levee wall and grounds maintenance around the levee wall. The city is offering an amount of $15,300 for the permanent easement, approximately 0.674 acres, including improvements such as lawn and naturally occurring trees. The amount is in accordance with Indiana code. Mrs. Becky Smith, CFO, has also collaborated and received approvals granting the easement from the School Building Corporation due to the School District Building Corporation currently owning the property through a lease financing arrangement per Indiana code. You have additional documentation in your board packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Board, any questions for Ms. Burton Smith? If there are no questions, so I have a motion.
I move we approve the resolution for perpetual stormwater drainage facility easement at Clearwater Elementary property presented by Ms. Britt Smith.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is an aye. Ayes have it 5-0. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And also, I checked with the maintenance team. They're currently working on an issue at West Lane. And then as soon as they can get back to the automation system, they're going to check it out.
Okay, no need to have anybody coming
Okay.
over here or anything.
I'd rather check it out now than later.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. All right, next action item would be capital construction project change orders. Mr. Boots, how many times do you think you've done this now?
A few. Never gets old, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, members of the board and Dr. Taylor. I am here asking approval of one project change order number 001 to Skillman Davis Joint Venture for the J. Everett Light Career Center Phase 5 project. That change order is in the amount of $168,077, and it will be coming from capital referendum funding. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I guess, maybe it's a question, maybe it's more of a comment, but if you can verify, this is kind of an exciting time in the project, is my understanding, because this change order is not one where it was like, oh, something was left out or something anticipated happened. This was more of a situation where we said, we're coming to the end and we have not spent all of our money. We have managed it so well that we can now go ahead and do a few things we weren't sure we're going to be able to do. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there's some interior finishes in spaces with what we called no work areas, because at the time that we went through this several years ago, we were unsure of what our financial situation would be. So I would also note that this will not be the last time I come for you with things like this. So we're working on some more of these opportunities as well.
Great, thank you. I just want to make that clear because obviously it's a little different than many of the change orders we've seen over the years. So it's a nice type to have the money to voluntarily take on some of these changes. Any other questions for Mr. Boots? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the 2016-2020 capital construction project change orders as presented by Mr. Boots.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is an aye. Ayes have it 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda is Dr. Whitman with the approval of the IDOE Teacher Appreciation Grant distribution.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. I come to you this evening seeking approval of the Indiana Department of Education Teacher Appreciation Grant distribution and total award. In your packet, you have a detailed memo with an overview of the Indiana Department of Education's TAG program and the Washington Township Schools local application and selection process. But first, I'd like to extend my deepest appreciation to WTEA for their collaborative approach to this endeavor. This grant process had many challenges, and throughout our work to comply with statutory requirements and the DOE stipulations, WTEA was a thoughtful partner throughout. The district received 180 applications from our staff, and based on state allocations and required payroll costs, is recommending approximately 101 Tier 1 teacher stipends from the $414,417.69 of state allocation for Washington Township. Applications were reviewed through an anonymous multi-stakeholder committee using standardized rubrics and, where necessary, a randomized lottery. Board approval is requested to submit the final list of recommended participants to DOE by the department's established deadline.
All right, any questions for Dr. Whitman? I have, again, sort of a comment / question for the benefit of everyone. I just want really anybody listening to be clear that this is a huge change from what has historically happened, that we found out from the legislature that this entire process would be changing around April of last year. But then the actual administrative implementation guidance from the Department of Education didn't come out until late summer, early fall, I want to say. So I guess I want to just point out and express some appreciation that this is not something we have had to do every year. We had to literally develop a process from scratch. A lot of districts are doing it. I know that, what we did is pretty in line with what some other districts are doing, but it put us in a tough spot. And so I really just kind of want to acknowledge and have you confirm that, your team really had to put a tremendous amount of work into figuring out on very short notice, how do we completely change a program from what it has been historically?
And whenever you deal with something where there's finances involved, people's feelings and their emotions are involved. This was a tough process for everybody involved because it did change so drastically from the way TAG had been done. I would anticipate legislative session may revisit what it looks like next year as well, and we'll be prepared to pivot. I can share with certainty, based on my conversations with districts across the state, our process was very collaborative, and it was about as smooth as any district went through. So I feel very confident that even if we have to adjust and make some changes for next year, I still feel very good about the process that we used.
Great, thank you for that. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the IDOE TAG distribution total award as presented by.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I will go through the roll call vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is an aye. The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you for your work, Dr. Whitman. And we are back to Dr. Kaiser. Action item number 4, revision to the school calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, President Fry, members of the board. I come to you this evening seeking an adjustment to our previously approved calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. The calendar previously presented to the board contained an error that inappropriately marked January 31st, 2027 as a day of student attendance. January 31st, 2027 is in fact a Sunday, and I doubt that many Washington Township students would be particularly enthralled with attending on that day. So the corrected calendar is in your board documents for approval this evening. The biggest change is that the final week of school for the 2026-2027 school year now has a final student day on Thursday, May 27th of 2027. This is in alignment with past school calendars. For example, this year, our last student day is a Thursday as well. Additionally, we are still finished with school in 2026-2027 before the Memorial Day holiday, as we have been in the past. So this concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the revised school calendar for the 26-27 school year as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis,
Aye.
and Ms. Fry is an aye. It's approved 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. And I'm going to have you remain at the podium for our next action item of a first reading of policy.
Thank you, President Fry. I also come to the board this evening with a first reading of changes to Board Policy C-475, which is school-sponsored publications and productions. The changes presented in your board documents for this evening have been reviewed by the Board Policy Committee, and they represent a transition back to some prior language we have used in the past to define the relationship between school administrators and school publications. Again, I'm pleased to answer any questions the board may have at this time.
Any questions? All right, I know our policy committee vetted this one thoroughly, so I appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the first reading of revisions to Board Policy C-475, school-sponsored publications and productions as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis,
Aye.
and Ms. Fry is an aye. Thank you. The ayes have it 5-0. And we will transition to number 6, Huntington Learning Center Agreement with Dr. Siebert.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. I'm here tonight to request your approval of the Huntington Learning Center agreement for this winter going into spring, January through March of 2026. In the agreement, you can see our request to provide supplemental tutoring services to approximately 60 sixth grade middle school students across 3 Washington Township schools, Eastwood, Northview, and West Lane Middle Schools. Students have been identified through our multi-tiered system of support process at the school level and will participate with parent approval and support. Sessions will focus on reading comprehension, vocabulary, and math instruction delivered in small groups after school hours. This is a high dosage tutoring approach, which is a research-based strategy proven to improve math and reading achievement, providing targeted intervention for students who need additional academic support. We are looking specifically at focusing on 6th grade students. Our data has shown that our 6th graders could use a little bit of extra love. We have the gift of phase 2 Lilly funds that we're able to use, the matching funds for the cost of this agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board, any questions? Mr. Thompson?
This is great, and I'm super excited. How did you guys choose on Huntington?
So we looked at a variety of tutoring services. We also looked at our own capability to increase our tutoring services after school. We looked at what our teachers would be capable of offering. We also looked at tutored by teachers, varsity tutors, Thinkverse. We looked at kind of an array of different programs and the cost. Also, we were really focused on finding something where we would have that human connection. These are going to be the same tutors coming back to work with our students every single session. We felt like that was one of the many reasons that this would be a good fit for our district.
Thank you so much.
Ms. George Davis.
So you said you identified the students and I saw that it's both math and reading. I'm just curious. Is
So-
it more math that we're needing or more reading?
Usually more reading. But each school will have the ability, because they're in groups of 3 or 4, that they could have one group of 3 or 4 that are focusing on math and the other 2 focusing on reading. But I'm expecting that there would be more reading support than math, but we will have a couple of math groups.
And trying to think of how to phrase that. Can that kind of change as it goes on?
With high dosage tutoring, they'll stick to the curriculum. So they've
So if they're
identified.
there for reading, it's reading.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
That's the plan right now. There are always exceptions
Right.
to the rule, right? So they could, a student could perform really well on the curriculum during the first session, and they might say, hey, we're going to, either accelerate you in this area or switch you to a math group. But for the most part, the plan is to stay focused on one area or the other. Mhm.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Just for clarification, I want to confirm mainly for anyone listening. We already do extensive tutoring programs, including paying our own teachers to do additional tutoring.
Correct.
This is just an additional extra program that is above and beyond the capacity we have within our existing programs, correct?
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the Huntington Learning Center agreement January through March 2026, presented by Dr. Seaver.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is an aye. It is approved 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Seaver. And number 7 is approval of a submission for the Cambridge grant application. And is it Ms. Napora? Okay, want to make sure I pronounce it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and board members. I am here to request approval to apply for the 2025-2026 Cambridge grant application. The purpose of this grant is to strengthen access, instructional quality, and student success for multilingual learners by completing the Cambridge AS Thinking Skills and A Thinking Skills curriculum in the English as a New Language department at North Central beginning next year, in place of the current language of math curriculum. These courses will are specifically designed to support language development alongside rigorous academic learning. The course is considered a qualitative reasoning course, counts as a math credit, and is considered an advanced course that supports progress towards an honors enrollment seal. Students will be eligible to take the Cambridge exam at the end of the course for potential college credit. The initiative will support approximately 50 students in the first year, which is about what our enrollment is right now for English or the language of math course in our E&L department. The thinking skills courses are uniquely suited to multilingual learners because they emphasize reasoning, problem solving, analysis, and metacognition while reducing unnecessary linguistic barriers. This allows students to engage deeply with complex ideas while continuing to build academic English proficiency. We would like to apply for this grant, which will pay for us to purchase the reusable curriculum and for the training for our teachers, coaches, and instructional leadership at North Central to effectively implement that curriculum.
Great. Questions, board? One from me. Is this a competitive grant or is this like if you meet the criteria, DOE will award it?
It is, if you meet the criteria, you will get the grant.
Well, that's good. We like that. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the submission for the 25-26 Cambridge grant application as presented on this.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. Mr. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson, Ms. George Davis, and Ms. Fry is an aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you for identifying the opportunity. All right, and number 8, another grant approval, the PNC Grow Up Great Partnership Grant. Ms. Parisi, thank you for being here.
Evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board. I'm here tonight to ask for permission to enter into a partnership with PNC Foundation. They have a Grow Up Great program that focuses solely on early childhood. So through this program, we can have volunteers that would come and volunteer a specific number of hours, and then those hours equal dollars that employee is allowed to give us through through the grant that they are given. And then we also can apply for grants that are at a larger dollar amount. So I'd like to be able to do that with your approval.
Board, any questions? This probably goes without saying, but just to ask it, since these are PNC employees, I assume they also have to pass all vetting and background checks for us. Do I have a motion if there's no more questions?
Move to approve the submission for the PNC Grow Up Great Partnership Grant as presented by Ms. Parisi.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the vote. Mr. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Horth Krueger?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson? Ms. George Davis?
Aye.
And Ms. Fry is an aye. And again, thank you for identifying these opportunities. Thank you. All right, that concludes our action items for the evening. So we will move on to our single but very exciting and very large information item. And I will allow the team to come up. And this is actually our first progress report on our new district strategic plan that was just announced and rolled out in July. So we as a board, I know, are very, very excited to see all the work that's gone into, now that we have the plan, how are we really measuring ourselves against those goals? Thank you for being here, Dr. Pettigrew.
I'm actually going to kick things off. Thank you, President Fry and board. Before I kind of set the stage here, I just want to verify that our education elements partners are able to, can we do a quick mic check on Houston and Denise before we get started?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
All right, I hear Houston, I hear Denise, so we'll go ahead and get started. Yes, we are excited. The team is excited to share with you a mid-year update. As you know, last year, we underwent a process in partnership with Education Elements to help us design a new 5-year strategic plan. We spent a great deal of time last year and gathering feedback from multiple stakeholder groups, and we hope and have heard that lots of different stakeholders can identify their voice in this plan. And so we were excited to launch it this summer, heading into the start of the school year. And now it's time to give you an update on how it's going, because now we're in the official launch and implementation period of time. And so if you'll go to slide 2, Dr. Pettigrew, tonight what we're going to do is we're going to have our partners and Education Elements. We have Houston and Denise here with us, and they're going to kind of provide you with some background as to the why behind this work that we've been doing, and hopefully level set you with that background knowledge so you also know where we're going. So they'll provide an explanation of the theories and frameworks guiding this work. Then each pillar lead is going to share an update on where they are with the initiatives outlined in the strategic plan. We're going to share a progress report of how we're going to regularly communicate to our community on how we're doing relative to the initiatives and relative to our goals. So there will be 2 dashboards. One will be an initiative implementation dashboard that we'll talk about later, as well as an overall goal dashboard where the community can access via our strategic plan website and see, hey, how are they doing with that plan? So we're going to share a little bit of that with you tonight as well, and also identify kind of our next steps as we proceed with our strategic plan. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our partners in Education Elements, Denise and Houston. You have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Taylor. So as Dr. Taylor mentioned, I'm Denise Racinos, a consultant from Education Elements, and I'm joined tonight with my colleague, Houston Reynolds. So we're very excited to share with you all the progress that has been done over the past 2 years now with, developing the strategic plan and now the first year of implementation. So the next slide. You will see an overview. We're going to provide you now with an overview of the work that is unfolding during this first year. So this first year is all about alignment. So that's talking about how are we defining metrics, ownership, and systems, and also getting those structures in place to be successful in the years that follow. So the pillar teams have been working very hard to make sure that those structures and systems have been put in place this year to ensure that they are successful in the years that follow. Then in years 2 and 3, those years are focused on acclimation and refinement. And these are the years where we're testing theories, seeing those indicators of success, and also making adjustments as we go. And then years 4 and 5, those are focused on emphasizing sustainability and also envisioning. So it's thinking about how are we ensuring that the work lasts and informs what comes next. So the key takeaway is that we are intentionally pacing the work that we're doing to ensure a long-term impact. And then this first year is making sure that there's alignment across the district. On the next slide, you will see here what the focus has been for this first year. So for this first year, it's also thinking about how are we, as we've mentioned, how are we aligned across the district? So it's thinking about how are we making sure that those fidelity, effectiveness, and impact metrics have been set, and thinking about what does success look like. It's also thinking about having those action plans that have been finalized for each strategic objective and pillar area, and thinking about how are we collecting data to monitor progress. Pillar teams are also meeting monthly to look through their goals and make any adjustments as needed. And then also thinking about how are we communicating these updates to the larger Washington Township community. So this alignment work is foundational and sets the tone and stage for the meaningful progress that will follow in future years. On this slide right here, this shows the different phases of the work that we're doing. So you can see that during this plan and align phase, that's when we had kickoff sessions with steering teams, pillar teams, and school leaders to ensure that there was a shared understanding of the work that we're doing with the strategic plan. And during the fall and during the winter, we have been focusing on making sure that we have those plans in place, that alignment and early implementation. In the early spring, we're going to be focusing on gathering information from the community. So thinking about how are we gathering that information from surveys and focus groups to reflect and make any pivots as needed. And then in the late spring, we'll use that information, that data, to iterate, refine, and make any updates based on what has been shared. The slide that follows here just shows the different individuals that have been involved in the process. So here you can see that in order, we do this to make sure that this does not live with one group or just one role. So we, Education Elements, we're here as thought partners to support the strategic planning implementation and making sure that the tools, templates, and protocols to align for each pillar are there. And then the project team also provides high-level oversight and guidance to make sure that logistics are being managed, and then also communicating updates to the broader community. We also have the steering team, and the steering team leads this progress monitoring and communicates with pillar teams to support that action planning. And those pillar team leads, they work in conjunction to make sure that they're working as liaisons to support with progress monitoring of the work. The pillar teams, they're supporting that action planning, and they're ensuring that those action steps are taking place on time and as planned. So this structure ensures that there's shared ownership, strong alignment, and clear progress monitoring across the district, and it allows that the work moves forward in a focused and sustainable way. So with that, I'm going to pass it now to my colleague Houston, who will provide an overview of the theories and frameworks that guide our work.
Hi, everyone. It's really great to be with you all. As we launch year one, as Denise mentioned, we are focused on alignment because ultimately, when we have clarity as to our goals and our metrics and our initiatives, we're then able to ensure that we are making sustainable progress. But before we go ahead and do that, I want to go ahead and clarify the why behind all of our actions. And so in this section, we're going to explain the theories and frameworks guiding our work. When we think about the reasons why implementation plans often fail, it is targeted amongst 3 areas: investment, communication, and systems. Implementation plans that are created by school districts oftentimes are not prioritized, and ultimately a lot of what is happening in the plan only exists between those who have created the plan. So there's really little buy-in. During our phase one process of creating the plan, we were intentional with ensuring that we gathered information from the community so that this plan represented the community of Washington Township. And so when we think about how we are aiming to have a strong implementation in year one, we are targeting investment, making sure that our plan continues to represent our community. We are also intentional with making sure that we have clear communication, so that way as pillar teams work collaboratively together, that we are having an understanding of the why behind the work, making necessary pivots, so that way within the systems portion of why plans fail, we have clear accountabilities, we have clear time set aside, so that way the work continues to move forward. In the next slide, we also see implementation failing because of this idea called the activation abyss. And so again, plans are created and then oftentimes they stay on the shelves. But here at Washington Township, we've been really intentional within year one of implementation to ensure strong execution. In doing so, we've leveraged the Noster model for change as a framework that really helps us to create change that sticks. We've had strong momentum when we launched this strategic plan. And so we're really leading with this framework for how do we ensure that all of the work that we put into our initial year really leads to the change that we want to see in the district. So to that end, on the next slide, we clarify the Noster model as when we think about how do we ensure sustainable change, there are 5 components that exist: a shared vision, skills, resources, and incentives, and ultimately an action plan. These 5 components, when combined, lead to sustainable change in organizations. And so as we think about year one for implementation, we are really focused on ensuring that we have all of these components, but most importantly, an action plan. And that is what pillar teams are working on monthly to ensure that all of the initiatives that we are working towards have the desired effect within the district. Now, we know there's a lot of work that we're going to be doing as we think about the 5 years, but ultimately we are also leveraging this approach of the 1% change on the next slide. And using this idea of the 1% change, we are really ensuring that we are creating an impact that lasts. We are going for intentional, connected approaches that help us to see the change we want to see in the district. Because we believe ultimately that when we have those marginal 1% shifts, it will lead to the improvements that we want to see, and ultimately it will multiply. And so when you think about how change compounds, the more you do something consistently, and those 1% change, the more you will ultimately see the growth that we are desiring. So year one is truly about alignment, and pillar teams are working on their action plans, leveraging this 1% mindset to help move the progress forward. Now, we also mentioned this idea of how are we determining success, right? In year one, where we're ensuring alignment, how do we know the direction that we're going? So in the next section, we're going to be diving into, well, how did we clarify metrics of success and what are we using to do so? So next slide shows metrics of success. And then ultimately it breaks down the components for the 3 areas that we are using. So when we think about how do we determine success, it starts with, are the initiatives that we have created implementing the desired effect that we'd like for it to have? So are we doing what we say we're going to do? From there, is the initiatives or are the initiatives having the desired effect for the key stakeholder groups? And then ultimately, is it leading to the lasting impact that we also have created? So pillar teams have all created their metrics using this framework to really help guide the work. And year one was really intentional with clarifying what is the impact that we want to have? How do we know that we're successful? And how do we ensure that we're doing the things that will ultimately lead to that impact? So as a progress update, which again, you'll hear from the pillar team shortly, in the next slide, we're looking ahead to think about the impact metrics, because when we designed our pillar plans, we started with the pillar in mind. What were we solving for? We then created the impact we wanted to have and the initiatives ultimately that we wanted it to solve for. But as we are thinking about how to execute, we are now thinking about what are the things that we want to do so that way we can determine effectiveness and then ultimately have the desired impact. So on the next slide, you'll go ahead and you should see the effectiveness metrics. The effectiveness metrics are for each pillar area. So rigorous learning for all, community and connection, effective communication, organizational growth and development. We've included the metrics here so that way you are all able to see how we are going to determine that we are effective in year one. And in a moment, you're going to hear the progress that we've made thus far towards these effectiveness metrics. As Dr. Pillar mentioned, we will have dashboards where you'll be able to also see a high-level overview of the progress made towards these goals and ultimately the work that the Pillar teams have been doing. Now we'll dive into the year one progress update. I'll pass it over to Dr. Pettigrew as she shares the updates for Rigorous Learning for All.
All right, thank you, Houston. So we are here to share a brief update regarding each of these pillars. And we're going to start with Pillar 1, Rigorous Learning for All. And so our group is making significant progress in this area. First, we have 4 initiatives under this pillar: blueprint development and instructional quality. So this work is being led by our teaching and learning and student services departments. The Blueprint for Learning will be a teacher-facing guide to ensure all teachers and staff are aware of the structures of lessons and the way in which we plan for and deliver rigorous learning experiences. We're currently conducting audits at all levels to inform our Blueprint for Learning template. The draft blueprint has been developed, and we've established a partnership with NIET to create a common framework for planning support meetings and implementing high-yield teaching practices. Since the beginning of the year, we have facilitated 4 meetings with our principals and their instructional coaches, and feedback from those meetings have been very positive. They've shared that the meetings are refreshing and that they are truly appreciative of the dedicated time to collaborate with their coaches and a peer school. A part of this pillar was also defining rigor. And so we have a district-wide definition for rigor that has been implemented in all of our buildings. And then we are developing expectations around each component of rigor, such as high expectations and student engagement. Second, we're establishing district-wide alignment through our MTSS process. So we've created this year non-negotiables for our MTSS practices. We've implemented a pilot at North Central and Allisonville regarding our Branching Minds platform. And we've created an early warning system for our grade bands. So for K5, 6, 8, 9, 12. And we're on track to complete our MTSS training by June 2026. We are also building a comprehensive student support services tracking system. We use a web-based platform. It's called SCUDA for our school counselors and school social workers. It allows them to document their services and track student interventions and then generate data reports to show how their time is being spent and providing support to students. Our counselors and social workers are defining the key metrics and data points as part of the MTSS system. Dr. Seaver?
So I'll just talk a little bit about the updates to our expansion of dual credit and career and technical education courses. The board probably remembers when I came in the fall with new course proposals, so you're already familiar with some of these courses, but we're really excited about the expansion of dual credit at the high school level. We've made substantial progress in this area, and we are onboarding for the 2026-27 school year up to 19 new dual credit courses, partnering with multiple universities, including Ivy Tech for 10 of the courses, Indiana University Bloomington for 8 of the courses, and Ball State University for 1 of the courses. And so our initial goal this spring is to look at who are the educators who are going to be credentialed to teach those courses. And if we don't have a currently credentialed educator, then looking at who we can get in the pipeline for then the 27-28 school year. The dual credit courses span diverse academic departments, including English, math, science, social studies, and art, providing students with broad opportunities to earn college credit. We're also committed to expanding our career and technical education pathways. You're familiar with our new HVAC pathway that we're opening next year, as well as the biotechnology partnership with Ivy Tech and Eli Lilly. We are also expanding our 1-hour career and tech education options in the North Central Polytechnic Department that will give students even more choices of career fields to explore, including interior design, entrepreneurship, and education. Notably, all 11 of our CTE pathway courses are also eligible for dual credit. So there's lots of overlap between these two categories. And we are trying to be very strategic about building these pathways rather than isolated courses to help support students' attainment of the Employment Honors Seal and the Enrollment Honors Seal. And with that, I think we'll pass it.
I think I'm going to pause right there real quick and just board procedurally, if we want to take this in chunks for questions versus waiting till the end. Obviously, we can have questions at the very end, but I wanted to open it up for questions to that pillar one group, rigorous learning for all. If there were any questions they could answer at this point in time.
Just have one, the early warning system. Is that like, so I know this year, which is new, you guys are sending the progress reports for people who have either F or like their an assignment was below 50%. So is that one of the early warning systems?
So academics is one piece. We also look at behavior referrals, attendance. We look at a variety of data points just to see if kids are having issues in multiple areas to just tell us to dig deeper and see if we need to develop a plan.
For the dual credit, so I know there's AP, right? And you take AP, you take the test, you might get college credit. I'm assuming this is different. Like you enroll in this class, there's college credit.
Yes.
It's not contingent upon scoring a 4 or 5 on a test.
That's correct. Now, different colleges accept it for different requirements. So for some colleges, it would be an elective credit. For some, it would count as a core course for their freshman year, which is very helpful, saves the parents some money from those core courses. But it varies. But yes, taking the course is the dual credit course is particularly benefiting our students that have test anxiety and don't want their whole college credit to depend on that IB exam or AP exam because they're able to show mastery over the course of the semester.
So are those, sorry, would it kind of be structured I'm asking this because like when I did dual credit, I had to actually go to St. John's University for calculus. So, which is great because I got to leave school, but I know we're going to teach it here. So, obviously that's a different environment and it felt like an honors. So will it kind of have the feel of an honors course or will it be weighted?
It is weighted. Yes, it is weighted. Mm-hmm. But it is our educators at North Central who are teaching the classes. There is one exception for next year, our ACP art history class. We've had a challenging time getting a teacher credentialed. So for 1 year, they have what's called IU High School. And so we'll be connecting with an instructor through IU, but then having our person that's in the pipeline kind of be a part of that onboarding. So then in 27, 28, they can take over the class.
That's awesome.
And then to piggyback off Ms. George Davis, with like, so for example, ACP, when I took ACP classes at North Central, there was an additional fee or something. It wasn't big, but there was additional fee. Is that still the case?
We have scholarships and funding to cover those fees. Yep.
Thank you.
Real quick one. So as you're talking about the career pathways or the dual credit, so and you're looking for, you're going to have to either train folks to do it or you'll have people, you have to go find somebody to teach it. So will the students that are like at True North then come over to North Central to be in that particular classroom because you're limited to particular trainer or teachers, right? So it's kind of a combination. They get to come over and take those courses as well.
We haven't had for this year. I'm trying to think if we have students at True North that are enrolled in dual credit. I don't think we've done that this year. We would really just take that on a case-by-case basis, like we do most students at True North in terms of what their day needs to look like. But certainly many of our True North students are earning lots of dual credit through their experience at JEL because all of the JEL 3-hour pathways have dual credit either through Ivy Tech or Benson's.
So that, I'm sorry. So that is the way that they're getting it now is through Okay, got it.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Dr. Seaver, recently there was a data analysis on access or opportunity gaps in correlation to achievement gaps. What did we find out about achievement gaps in relationship to dual credit?
Sure. Actually, this is one area where the bar graph is flipped from where we've seen our achievement gap in some other areas in the district. Our students of color, particularly our Black students, are earning more dual credit than any other subgroup at North Central High School. Behind that are our Hispanic students. So we're seeing a lot of success within our dual credit programming for students that we have really been working hard on in terms of other programs, but just seeing them thriving in this atmosphere.
I'm sorry, you made me think of another question. So I know you haven't, I'm not asking you if you haven't done it. Man, I can't speak right now. You haven't really kind of dived into what the reasoning is behind that. But to Mrs. George Davis's point, is dual credit considered the same as AP? And so I'm just asking that question because to me, it almost, what you just said almost sounds like dual credit is like, well, I can't get into AP, so I'll go do dual credit. And it shouldn't be that way, right?
Correct. No, not at all. In fact, I think the historical tradition at North Central has really been a focus on more of the AP, and I have not offered as many dual credit courses at North Central. JEL has offered more dual credit courses through Ivy Tech and Vincennes. I think our community in general, when they think of honors, they've traditionally thought about AP and IB. So our counseling department is really working hard to help kids understand, and families, the benefit of taking dual credit, because it saves you money. You do have an honors experience to get your get your foot in the door in terms of that college experience. And you get the weighted credit as well. So all sorts of benefits for our students with dual credit, but we're just kind of improving our marketing around the opportunity.
Just as a follow-up to that, I mean, dual credit, it doesn't have, there's not just one type of dual credit, right? So as you said, the 3-hour pathways in JEL, those will count towards an associate's, right? At Ivy Tech or Vincennes as an example. Versus there's also, I know one of the popular ones is W131, right? And that is they have to teach an IU syllabus to IU standards, IU trained, and if they go to IU or IUPUI or whatever, they get that check mark. I've done freshman, writing. So it's kind of, I think maybe when we think about dual credit, some of our heads are still in that AP kind of zone. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the reality is like dual credit can look like a lot of different things. Correct?
That's correct.
I'm coming back, sorry. So she actually just made me think of something. So for a student who maybe doesn't want to go to IU or Ball State or Ivy Tech, dual credit is probably not going to help them.
It doesn't hurt to take it. We never know what's ahead of us.
Honors class. So like, will it show up in their syllabus or curriculum or catalog as an X class? So they get the weighted North Central, but maybe not. Like, are we going to communicate that?
You mean, do we allow students to take the class only for high school credit and not college credit? Is that your question?
Well, no, I guess I'm saying, because you mentioned the marketing piece. So if I'm a junior going into, senior year, and I'm like, oh, I can get dual credit, is it going to be really clearly communicated that this is dual credit for IU, and Purdue may not accept this as, it's the making sure that they know that whatever school you choose, be it not IU, God forbid,
Might have it count toward a different.
right. They may not get the dual credit.
That should all be part of the explanation at the beginning of the class.
That's
And
what
also the counseling appointments that our counselors are doing right now when they're scheduling for next year.
Right.
I will say we err on the side of take the dual credit, kids.
Right.
Like, it's not going to hurt you. I actually had a phone conversation with a parent probably a couple of months ago of a junior in high school that was calling me to say, I wish my kid would have taken dual credit in high school, because now they're having to retake the same class that they took in high school because they didn't think they would need it in their major. And so anything you can do to encourage kids. And so that's really our company line is,
it's in your best interest to
Yeah,
take.
it was
credit.
more of the communication piece because I would hate for someone to not understand because they're thinking I'm getting dual credit and then go to Purdue and they're like, wait, I got credit.
Mhm.
So it was more of a making sure that that is really communicated well in those counseling appointments.
And it's not a question, but I was gonna say, I think a lot of those courses like are part of the Indiana College Core though, right? Which are transferable across at least state universities. Like W131, for example, is a part of the College Core. So like it's gonna transfer to Ball State, Indiana State, Purdue, any of the state schools.
That's right. So, and that Indiana College Core, if you come to curriculum night next Monday night, our rising freshmen, we have a whole session just on Indiana College Core because if students take this set of 30 credits, it will transfer as a set to any university in Indiana. And so that's a great win for our students and families. And so we're trying to do a better job of helping our families know about that early on at this 8th to 9th grade transition.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am here to represent Community and Connection. We had 3 objectives that our committee is working towards. The first and the biggest right now is that we are establishing a Panther Guide. And so when we look at the Panther Guide, we are attempting to, or we have a draft where we have documented all the ways right now that students 8 into 9, what those expectations will be as a 9th grader. So that includes ways to get involved, curriculum, what assessments could be coming up, also some nomenclature that's very specific to high school. The goal with our Panther Guide is to help our families with that matriculation. So going into what my colleagues were talking about and the new pathways, we want to have a very visually and aesthetically pleasing document that helps our families and our students understand what we can expect. We will be doing a Panther Guide for every grade level, but we determined that this year we would focus solely on the 8 into 9. S127 is our partner. I was here before you about a month or so ago to ask for your permission to bestow into working with them. They have reached out to Dr. Taylor and I today. They are ready for us to see their beta phase. So we are looking to get that scheduled next week so that we can take our paper document and see what it looks like virtually. Again, it went through many stakeholders. It's gone through lots of revisions. And so now we are ready to see that. Our goal, of course, is that we are going to roll this out coming through curriculum night, through parent Q&A via Zooms, individual scheduled meetings, and then having that draft this year. Our goal is to create a draft from K into 1 as well as 5 into 6. So that is where our committee will really feel that they have done great work. Once we nail down the visual aesthetics and then trying to identify those key components so they look similar. Our second priority is our district data gathering, which we've moved into, and that is really trying to capture what does family orientation look like for the families in Washington Township. So how can we look to streamline those? Where do they currently happen amongst the district? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then how can we replicate that at the district level to ensure success? Now, naturally, we're going to want our buildings to have their own feelings and their own flavor, but we want all families, regardless of where they live in our district, to have that same welcoming feel. So they understand what it is to be a Panther, to understand that Panther pride, and to what it is to be welcome into the community. So those are really the 2 big pillars that are happening right now. Again, we are most excited about the beta phase and seeing this hard work come to life for this 8 into 9 and then seeing that roll out. And then you will see us continue to do that work for what does it take for our students to continue to matriculate through the full experience of being a Panther. So any questions for me?
When do we actually get to see it?
Yeah, so we have a virtual, so I will say we had a mock-up sloppy copy. Dr. Taylor has seen it, and we have rolled it out to S127. I am looking to schedule that beta meeting. I actually emailed Susan to see when I can get on Dr. Taylor's schedule for next week. So we can see what they've come up with and give them feedback. So hopefully, to your question, it is very, very soon. We are very excited and we look forward to this first phase and continuing to get additional feedback to really make sure that we are crafting a quality product that informs our families and our students.
I'm sorry, remind me when I know you're trying to get it finalized, but when's the targeted date to get it to family?
So as soon as we go through this beta rollout and we see what S27 has come up with and Dr. Taylor and we kind of bestow, then I'll be working with my colleagues. We'll start getting this out. Mr. Rent is part of the committee. So you will start seeing those things, curriculum nights, parent Q&A, individuals scheduled. You will start to see then our team utilizing all of those documents or that document as we're counseling students 8 into 9, because we do have up until spring where counselors do individual sessions at all of the middle schools. So students are going to see it, families as well. So, and then obviously it will live on our website as well, because we want it to be very accessible. We want our families to see it. So we want them to know what to expect in different assessments and how best to prepare their students.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions for me? I will turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Nee.
In the effective communication pillar, all the district current communications have been analyzed, and then we created a matrix of mode, practices, all the cadence, content, target audience, and sending individuals. And that really became the foundation of developing the cornerstones and framework for the new communications plan. On priority 2, we did complete a district-wide communication audit for student communication tools. The point of that was to make sure that we intentionally incorporate student voice into the final plan when it's done, being responsive to the feedback we receive from secondary students. And on priority 3, ending with positive stories here, a standard submission form has been created and deployed in an effort to gather positive stories to be shared with our school community. Now, these are already deployed and in effect, and they're being shared out in the district newsletters and all through our social media channels. Happy to answer any questions.
Just one question. So does that include like the student square?
Yes.
When y'all plan, what's the?
So that's in place. So one of the complications, and now I have surrendered myself to Houston's process because I am a very much see problem, fix problem, but we're going on the journey. So we are investigating these tools. And with this tool, what we found is because it's driven, we need students to have one of our Gmails active to enroll. It would isolate it only to students in the high school, which is not terrible, but it's also an opt-in. We can't force everybody in. So we're just evaluating all those tools, but that is Student Square is live and active now and available. We just haven't deployed it because we want to make sure we get it right as we process through this kind of journey on developing the communications plan. I will say that one of the things we are doing in the short term to address that is everybody is in Canvas, can push alerts and send messages to all students through that. So we're evaluating all this to find a final solution, incorporate students into the alerts and everything that parents get.
Thank you.
Actually, that made me think of something. And this probably dovetails into achievement too, but is there anything you can add in terms of that communication around how teachers use Canvas to communicate to students? And I'm asking that because that made me think of it like, if you go out there and you look at Canvas right now, like each course looks completely different. What sections they use, how they structure stuff, even e-learning this week, how the heck you find the link in the assignment. Like each course, the teachers use Canvas completely differently class to class. And I think that is hard. So I'm just wondering if either as part of this or maybe part of the blueprinting under the achievement, is there anything going on in terms of looking at doing anything to streamline that student experience of being all over Canvas in different ways for every class?
I think there's 2 parts to that. Obviously, this will focus on communication, and it will have recommendations or even guidelines to say, this is how we are going to communicate this information across which platforms and which, in what timing. So that's the communication side of it. We have been evaluating based on feedback from these e-learning days, revisiting, getting back to some of the practices we put in place initially during COVID, which are best practices for what you see on your homepage, how you can find things quickly, promoting again the family e-learning resource page, which is out there for families. So some of those things we can do alongside a communications plan or that implementation piece. Now, I don't know that it'll get as far down as to controlling all the layouts and pieces and courses, but we do have a team that focuses on just the Canvas aspect of that. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The first area we wanted to highlight from our organizational growth and development pillar is our ongoing work to create an employee hub that will serve as the single online location for all Washington Township staff to access the most up-to-date information from every department. We've been very conscious in that process that given the substantial amount of content that is captured, it's incredibly important that all department pages be presented and organized in the same way. It's interesting, dovetailing on the conversation that we just had. If you look at our current websites, you go to the Human Resources Department, forms maybe in one spot, information about processes in another. The idea here is to have a common format across each departmental page that the information may change, but the essential locations are the same. So department leaders are now in the process of loading documents and information to those individual department sites. We know it's really important that the information that's presented be very robust and very accessible the first time that we roll this out. You only get one shot at having somebody come to this for the first time, and if they don't find that it's accessible, they may not go back there again. So based on that, we look forward to releasing access to a small number of staff that they'll be able to give us some feedback for us to refine it before we roll it out to everyone. The second organizational growth and development initiative we wanted to highlight is our ongoing work to improve our professional learning alongside NIET, which Dr. Pettigrew talked about earlier. They work nationwide with about 350,000 teachers and 75 universities. And so they're currently assisting us in improving the consistency in our collaborative learning, continuous improvement, collective leadership, and instructional evidence. So as we talked about, they are working directly right now in two different ways. One, working with our district instructional leadership team, with our principals. And I know we start talking about kind of that work, and there's a lot of educational jargon and things that we talk about. So I was going to operationalize it a little bit. My favorite principals meeting this year was work around rigor in the classroom, and principals were asked, when we do that work around visible learning with Dr. Hattie, they talk about work that is difficult. Work that is difficult, in that definition, takes a significant amount of effort. It may be hard to do. And then there's work that's complex. And complex means you can't understand it without analyzing multiple parts or understanding the pieces that come together. So principals were asked to bring examples that they were given by their teachers of rigor in the classroom, and then asking themselves the question, is this difficult, what we're asking kids to do, or is it truly complex, right? So it's difficult to memorize all the bones in your hand. It's not easy to do. It takes time to do it, and it's hard, but it's complex to understand that a broken bone in the hand can lead to sepsis in your blood, because you have to understand all the body systems that are interacting for that to happen. And to see our principals really having those conversations around work to say, are we asking our kids to do something difficult here? Are we asking our kids to do something really complex? Was very, very powerful. And that continues in every principals meeting that we're doing throughout the course of the year. The second way that NIET is operating is they are working directly with Greenbrier Elementary, Northview Middle School, and North Central High School. So they work with those administrators and instructional coaches at the building level to build out the instructional leadership model, and they've assisted them in making weekly plans to improve the instruction in their buildings. That work is happening at those 3 buildings, but it will transition out to all of our schools in the district in 2026 and 2027. And then finally, I did want to highlight one relatively quick win that we had in our Initiative 4, which focuses on developing a pipeline for Washington Township students to return to Washington Township as staff. We are definitely just in the research phase of this initiative. However, an opportunity presented itself and we seized it. So starting at the beginning of this month, here in January, we have a JEL student who has been hired as the first work-based learning vehicle technician specialist in our transportation department. Over the course of the semester, that student will be paid as he completes 150 hours assisting and learning from our vehicle technicians in our bus garage. Ultimately, our hope is that upon graduation and completion of all certification requirements, that Washington Township may become that student's professional home in the future. So again, very, very much in the research phase and exploring that work-based learning aspect for positions within the district itself, but an exciting early indicator of potential future opportunities. So.
Question? I had one. I'm just curious, the school to employee pipeline, I know you're saying very, very new, but in some ways not entirely new, because I feel like it's been about 5 years since you guys really kind of focused in on grow your own teachers, kind of. In fact, I think it was about 4 to 5 years ago when you kind of started going through the initiatives of identifying seniors who were potentially going to study education, staying in touch with them. And I happen to know that we have somebody teaching geometry at North Central right now who is a graduate. So it occurs to me that we are at that point where, so I'm curious, do we know of, do we have any other teachers who have joined us who were North Central grads from the last 3 to 4 to 5 years?
Certainly, absolutely, yes. We definitely continue. And interestingly, one of the things what we're doing alongside HR is we've never tracked that. There's never been a part of our hiring or our employee file where we ask, are you a North Central graduate or did you go to Washington Township schools? So we're working backward to do some of that tracking. But yes, I can tell you that we had multiple folks in our most recent group of hires that are NC graduates or parents from the community and those kinds of pieces. We also just found out, and it's very exciting, we've been partnered for several years with what was IUPUI and now IU Indy on a partnership that allowed our instructional assistants who already have a bachelor's degree in something to do a cohort group, and then coming through that cohort group transition with a master's of arts in teaching. We met recently, Dr. Whitman and I met with IU Indy is now expanding that to folks who are working as instructional assistants or in other spaces in our district who only have their high school diploma and will actually take them through bachelor's degree to an education degree. So we're excited about that expansion as well and that opportunity. So certainly we've been strong in that area with certified staff, really seeing some additional opportunities with them, and they're really looking to expand it with our classified staff positions. Yeah,
thanks.
Absolutely.
Also, first year teacher of the year last year, Miss Grace Lowe from Fox Hill. She's a Panther.
Yes, she is.
She's an alum.
Great.
Awesome. Well, and I think we are headed back to our partners with Ed Elements.
And Dr. Kaiser, do you mind staying put there and driving us home? Thank you, sir.
All right, so for this portion, we are going to share with you all, give you an overview of the public facing dashboard. And right now you can just see screenshots, but you can see once this is living on the Washington Township website, this public facing dashboard, what you'll be able to see is each pillar. And then for the pillar areas, you'll have the initiatives listed on there and then the current status of where they are. And then an update on the specific initiatives and where they are currently. So when you click on that dashboard, what you'll see is a first tab that includes how to navigate that specific dashboard. So it'll give you the purpose and the why And then that navigation, you'll see those different areas of the research status. So you can see the research phase, that's strategies that you want to learn more about before making a plan to implement. Then you'll also see the discovery. So those are strategies that are in pilot phase, but based on research that we want to test at a smaller scale. And then implementation, those are strategies with scaled implementation across the district and regular checkings on monitoring metrics. So you'll see based on the specific initiatives where they fall under those specific categories on those tabs. And then you also will see the different tabs that have those specific status updates throughout the year. So you'll have access to that. Then on the next slide, this just outlines the goals as well that were set for the strategic plan that are targeted to be met by 2030. So you'll see the different areas as well. And this is also included in the public facing dashboard. So you'll see all those specific goals there. And then this is the dashboard for the district strategic plan and the progress currently on where they are. So Dr. Taylor, if you want to add more as to what this looks like, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so with the help of Dr. Mahalik and technology, we knew that it was going to be important to not just list updates on initiatives, which is really the bulk of our work, but we also were explicit about what we intend for those initiatives to drive in terms of outcomes. So we felt it was important to have a goal dashboard that simplifies and showcases our progress toward our goals. And so if you see in this dashboard draft, which again, we plan to house both these dashboards on our strategic plan website, you can see where we currently are relative to the goal of 2030. You can also see how many overall goals we've met, which we've already met one. Thank you, North Central graduation rate. That was fantastic. But now the goal is to sustain that, obviously. You can see some progress to target on the right side there. And so we wanted to make sure that it was more than just how are we doing with implementation and are we getting where we wanted to go with this? And so we're going to continue to work this plan for school improvement implications so that each school has their own dashboard that will be accessible via their own school website. And so stakeholders will be able to go and say, I see how the district's doing, but how's Willow Lake doing in relation to the strategic plan goals? And so we think there'll be some similarities, but there also will have to be some differences in terms of form and function for that data as well, because Willow Lake won't be going after all of these goals, as you already know. So we just wanted to share that with board. And so any questions relative to the two dashboards?
Not a question.
Yeah.
Obsessed. Love. Phenomenal.
Power BI.
Power BI, yes, sir.
Love it.
All right, and with that, I'll turn it back over to the education elements team to close us out.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. So for next steps, this is the work that we are going to continue doing. So as we shared earlier, this next part is to ensure that we are collecting data from the community. So we will be focusing on having community engagement. So having focus groups, and then also we'll be in person to do some learning walks and go to schools to see evidence of those effectiveness metrics based on indicators. So we'll be working on that during the next few weeks and throughout the spring. And then after that, based on the data that we receive, we'll think about what are the areas that we need to reflect and iterate on and make pivots for thinking about implementation for year 2. The pillar teams will continue to have their monthly meetings, so they'll continue working on the specific initiatives. So those are the upcoming touch points. And then we know we've spent some time going through each pillar, and you all have had the opportunity to ask questions, but we also have this next portion to see if there's anything else that you had questions on.
Any other questions, board? Thank you, Dr. Taylor and team, for a very thorough update.
I will also just conclude by saying special kudos and appreciation to our partners in Education Elements. Miss Houston and Miss Denise have been phenomenal. We have learned as a team a great deal by having this experience. Thanks to the Lilly Foundation, we felt it was important that we not just get help in building a plan, but let's also get help and fresh perspective on how to manage a plan. And they have been critical in helping us shape a vision for moving forward to continue strong implementation. So thanks to Education Elements.
Great work.
Thank you. All right. Well, that concludes our information item. So the last thing on our agenda would be special events and liaison reports. I'm actually going to start with you, Ms. Horth-Kruger, since, actually, I think she went ahead and logged off. Are you still there? No. Yeah, I think she left after that because she is out of town. So we will skip Ms. Horth-Kruger, and I guess we'll just go this way again. I don't think I have anything to report.
I have nothing to report. I'm supposed to be at the orchestra concert tonight, catching the end of it, but it was canceled. But I'll be at Tootsie Pops on Friday.
I will be headed to DC on Sunday to participate in NSBA's Advocacy and Equity Conference, and looking forward to meeting with Congressman Carson's office and I think Senator Banks's office to lobby with other Marion County School Board members on Tuesday. So that's what's coming up.
Awesome.
And no, I haven't participated, but my driveway shoveled.
That's important.
Okay.
He's ready to go tomorrow.
All right. That is the conclusion of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Driving to the west side now?
Doctor, I don't know, because the game started at 7:30. Are you going?
Well, she lives there too. So she lives over there.
I don't know if I'm gonna go.